Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Chapter 6, the very first section of Chapter 6. We are talking about idea of recursive routines. We've talked about this before, but now we're going to talk about an idea called geometric sequences, which is a recursive routine. Remember, we talked about that as a pattern, but instead of adding or subtracting numbers this time, we are going to multiply by the same number or constant multiplier. Okay, so make sure you're getting this vocabulary written down. We're going to be talking about it throughout the section and the chapter. So we're going to be using this type of stuff all the way through. Okay, so here's a table that has different values in it. So it's got our x values over here on the left, like we've been seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But now we see these y values on the other side go 16, 24, 36, 54, 81. Okay, and so with the recursive routines we've dealt with before, these have always been the same number, or been going up by the same amount. So now you see here, this one goes up by 8, but then it's 12, and then it's 18, and then it goes up by 27. So this isn't the same consistent linear amount each time, okay? This is what we call a geometric sequence. Everything's getting better or bigger by a different amount. But what we can do is we can figure out this pattern. Okay, there is a pattern here. What I'm going to show you here is if we take the second value, 24, and we divide it by 16, we get an answer of 1.5. Okay, and then if we do the same thing with 36 and 24, we end up with 1.5. We do the same thing with 54 and 36. We're going to get 1.5. If we do the same thing with 81 and 54, we get 1.5. Okay, so the values here, they're all 1.5. So in a geometric sequence, the values in between here is a multiplication of 1.5. So if I wanted to figure out the next term in my sequence, I would take 81 and I'd multiply by 1.5, and that would give me my next value. And that value would be 121.5. And then we would take 121.5 and multiply it by 1.5 and just keep going through that pattern to fill out our table. Okay, so that's a geometric sequence. Instead of using multiplication, or instead of using addition and subtraction, we use multiplication or division. Okay, and with that, we can have the idea of percent increase and percent decrease. Okay, if you you see something that says it's the price has been increased by 5%, we can write that out as a type of a pattern and multiplication problem to figure out our answer right away. Okay, so you saw on the vocab part that we had value times 1 plus percentage gave us how we figure out the increase each time. Okay, so in this case, our value that we start at is 100, and we're going to start with 1. We write 5% as a decimal, which is 0.05. So when we add these two together, we end up with 100 times 1.05. We multiply by those together, and we get 105. So that's a 5% increase from 100. Then to find the next value, we do the same thing, but instead of using 100, we now use 105. And then we do that by 1.05, and we get 110.25. And we continue that pattern all the way through. Okay, now if we would do the same thing with percent decrease, we would start at 100. We'd multiply that by 1, but now we're going to subtract 10%, so 0.10, which gives us 0.90. And if we do that, we get 90. And then we would do the same thing here. 90 times 0.90 and that would give us an answer of 81. And then we would continue that process. We'd put 81 there and go by 0.9 and continue on through that. Okay. We can continue this process all the way through. Okay, so we also can have, and this is one final example, we could see something that would say 3, -6, 12, -24, and they'll want to know, okay, what's the constant multiplier? What are we multiplying by each time? And if we look at this, we go from 3 to 6, or -6, -6 to 12, 12 times -24. Our constant multiplier, if we take -6 divided by 3, we get -2. We do the same thing with 12 divided by -6, we get -2. So our constant multiplier would be -2. We don't always have to have positive numbers, we can have negative numbers as well. Okay, so that's section 1 from chapter 6. If you have any other questions, make sure you let me know, and have a good day.